Good afternoon, everybody who's already on, and I'm sure more people will continue to come in as we proceed. Thank you for being here. I'm going to begin with some admin announcements. The event is recorded, so please mute your microphones when you're not speaking. Please turn on your video and have your full name showing so our presenters can see their audience. And for others who are also on the call, some people will actually scroll to see who's on. The rules of engagement for the panel will be explained prior to the first panelist starting their remarks. Help facilitate connections by providing your name and point of contact information in the public chat channel. Also include what you offer or seek from the Purple Connection community in what you post in the chat channel. The chat channel will get saved before the end of the meeting. It'll get cleaned up of any superfluous conversations and shared to attendees of the call in an email tomorrow. All event registrants will receive a link to the recorded program, as well as everyone in attendance in a few days. So with those admin announcements, I'm going to have David go ahead and start the program slides now. Okay. Hello, everybody. There may be a few more people on. I am Emma Toops, the Executive Director for American Warriors and the facilitator for the Purple Connection. This event is hosted and sponsored by Toops Consulting, LLC. David and I are connectors, coaches, and consultants in Toops Consulting, and we thank you all for being here. Welcome, especially to those who this is your first Purple Connection event. For our new attendees, thank the person who invited you to the Purple Connection. They felt that you might benefit or contribute by being a part of this community. And to our regulars, it's good to see you again. Next slide. Here is the event agenda. I'm doing the welcome now, and then I will do an introduction to American Warriors and the Purple Connection. Then we'll have our educational networking program with our panelists. Then we'll have a Q&A with the panel and community. We'll have a transition tip. And then I will start wrapping up the event with how you can get involved with future events in the American Warriors, give you a lineup for next month, and that will be the end of the meeting. All of this is designed to happen in about an hour. All right, next slide. All right, so the introduction to American Warriors and the Purple Connection. American Warriors is an interest group, a special interest group of the ACA Business Club. And the Business Club is a private club with the philosophy that business flows out of relationships. People do business with those they know, like, and trust. Thus, the members of the club are committed to creating solid connections by learning and practicing the fundamentals of strategic networking and relationship building. American Warriors are club members who have an affinity with or support those who have served our country in military or public service. The mission statement for American Warriors is provide educational and networking opportunities to veterans who are now leaders in business. And they also support the transition of active duty service members into private and public sector businesses. The Purple Connection is one vehicle that American Warriors fulfill its mission. Next slide. So the challenges of transitioning from the military, it's a very well-researched problem. And it's evident by the multitude of military support nonprofits and community organizations, as well as businesses that provide support and services to address them. Driving Community Impact was a white paper published in April of 2015 by the IVMF of Syracuse University that determined, after several years of research and thousands of surveys, that the leading gap in services was not that there was a lack of them, but there was a lack of connectedness of the services and support. Very often, transitioning military feel a loss of purpose, they feel isolated or misunderstood, or they feel overwhelmed for their need of help, but are disconnected or lack affinity to the people and culture of their new environment. Next slide. So how do you solve this? You create a partnership of stakeholders who have a common goal for supporting American warriors. The Purple Connection is a community of partnered stakeholders with a common focus of service, support, and care so that we can effectively address the challenges of transition. Next slide. So what's up with the name? There's actually two reasons for it. In military jargon, the color for joint is purple. When our military is operating overseas on a deployment, that environment is comprised of a multitude of seemingly disparate entities with differing purposes, but they have a common purpose through the operation that unites and focuses their effort. TPC is an attempt to replicate this joint environment to support the American warrior in transition. Another reason is that when you combine the colors of red and blue, you get purple. So in the Purple Connection, we're facilitating the connection of individuals who identify more closely to either the military community or the military support and business community. And when they come together, it's a Purple Connection. Next slide. Here are the vision and mission of the Purple Connection. We create awareness to enable access and then empower action through collaboration and encouragement to expedite reintegration, support growth and healing, and enable opportunities. We do this by regularly bringing together community experts and facilitating connections through educational networking. Next slide. This is the rules of engagement for our panel program and our networking. Each participant will have 8 minutes to deliver their remarks. There will be a timer. The time can be stopped short and given back for some questions and answers or used up entirely by the panelists. However, when the timer goes off, please wrap up if you're not yet complete, and we'll move on to the next presenter. Once each panelist has spoken, there will be 15 minutes for Q&A. If you're uncomfortable with public speaking or want to remain anonymous with your question, you can private chat your question to me and I will ask it for you. What happened to the slides? Please be succinct in your questions and direct them to a specific panelist or to the community if it's a more general question. If you have a complicated question, you may ask it to discover if there's a subject matter expert in the audience. But if a response takes longer than 2 minutes to address it, I will recommend that you follow up after the event. After the Q&A, there'll be 8 minutes for a transition tip, which is an educational presentation for a paradigm, process, or resource that applies to transition. After the presentations, if you have not already, share in the public chat your point of contact information and how you serve or need support from the community. The chat will be saved and all attendees will get a cleaned up copy in a future email so that you can follow up with each other as you like. I will do event announcements and then wrap up the event. Next slide. All right, so first up is our veteran entrepreneur. John Nelson is a retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel and is the CEO of Morris Nelson and Associates, LLC. John, are you on?
I am, Emma.
There you are. All right.
Just wasn't smart enough to use the unmute button.
Yeah, kind of have to call you so that you know to come on. All right. Well, you are up.
All right. Well, thanks, Emma. Well, hello, everybody. As Emma said, I'm retired from the Army. I retired in 2007. I'll tell a little bit of the background of what my retirement story was and how I got to where I am right now, and that might give you the background. I was in 2007. I was actually in Atlanta, Georgia, working at FORCECOM headquarters for a year, and I retired out of Atlanta and came back to Leavenworth, where I had kept my family, and I immediately started work as a defense contract. Joined a small company called DRC, which was Dynamics Research, and they immediately put me on a contract with CSC, which was our prime contractor, working on post at Fort Leavenworth. Over the next couple of years, I used those years to kind of learn a few things. First of all, learn about business, its language, its principles, learn about business development. And then what I do is I started to build my own wall out of bricks, doing the capability development on myself. I didn't have a whole lot of certifications. I had the typical, bachelor's degree, master's degree, that sort of stuff. But I used that time in the civilian world to get certified as a Lean Six Sigma, Green, Black, and Master Belt, Black Belt. I became a Master KM professional, knowledge management professional, and then change management certified. I was going to go after my PMP, but after all that school, I kind of lost a little bit of my fire to go back to school again. Over the time of working with that organization, I kind of grew in both the contract organization as well as the business itself. In the contract organization, which was a team of multiple contractors, I started as a team lead, and then I moved into be a division lead, and then I was the chief of operations. And I wound up developing a lot of the organizational procedures, published briefings, briefed at conferences. I did everything I could to try to make myself a linchpin for both the contracting organization as well as for the actual contractor I worked for. Then I got involved on the contracting side for my company. I got involved in a lot of different project delivery, and then got involved heavily in business development for that group, both from the idea of, or from the perspective of writing proposals, doing approach development, coming up with the concept of how we would deliver work. And through that, I started building a lot of relationships, both with companies, with individuals, as well as a lot of customers all about. And everything that we won a bunch of different contracts over that period of time, was all based on the relationships that we had established. Over time, I kind of carved out a niche for myself as a kind of an internal consultant to the company, as well as an external consultant, where I would work both not only doing business development for my own group, but since I had done all that capability development, they were other people or other groups in the contracting organization would reach out to me for help writing other contracts because I had developed the expertise. And started doing some internal initiatives, process improvement, knowledge management initiatives within the company. But shortly after that, I started recognizing that I needed to start looking to get out of there, because although we had just won a bunch of contracts, we had grown our organization by about 500% in just a matter of a couple of years. The contracting environment was changing. It was moving from large businesses to small businesses. And we as a company have become a lot less competitive in that space. There was also the reduction in the global war on terror funding. There was a reduction in civil service manning. And then we went through about 3 different acquisitions of my company was bought by another company, and that company was bought by another company. And eventually, there actually was a period of about 6 months where I had no idea who I worked for. And neither did the people who I might have been working for. Nobody knew. We were kind of out there. And so that was the writing on the wall. I had gone from being a somebody to a nobody really quick. And so by about 2015, I had decided that while I was still working full-time for that company, I started my own firm, Morris Nelson and Associates, with a good friend of mine who used to be my old program manager and had retired. And we started the company. Obviously, we don't have a lot of creativity because we named the company after ourselves. And then we added 3 of my former colleagues and bosses onto the team. And by a year later, I escaped, if I will, from my old company when we won a large research contract. Since then, we've been doing a lot of government work. we're continuing the work that I did for somebody else. Work for the Corps of Engineers, Army analytical work, but then we also got involved in DoD support to law enforcement, particularly in the area of counter drug trafficking and human trafficking, where we started working with NGOs and local organizations. Recently, we've begun shifting our focus to doing economic analysis and analytical work in support of business and industry. So where that brings me now is the things that I've learned is that all the contracts and customers I've had over the last several years have all stemmed from relationships that have been forged over many years. I got a phone call just this last week while I was walking between terminals in Atlanta airport from somebody because he was connected to me with somebody I had worked with over 10 years ago. And it was just because they had a good conversation about it. You never know who you're going to run into next and who you're going to work with again. So don't necessarily try to make everybody mad. Try to keep people happy and constructive and professional. Manage relationships. And that's one thing that I have to say is that when you establish networking, everyone will tell you to network, but when you do network, the most important thing for you to remember is to bring value to the other person. Don't worry about if you're going to get something out of that relationship. If you turn it on its head and say, what can I provide to that other person? You never know if you're going to get something yourself out of the relationship. But if you worry about doing it for somebody else, it'll come back to you in spades over time. And everybody also tells you how to network or tells you to network, but nobody tells you how. And there's a great book out there called Coffee, Lunch, Coffee. If you haven't read it, read it. It tells you the best techniques about it. So the other final thing is somebody one time asked me if being an entrepreneur, you can count on your income or if it's steady. And the fact of the matter is, it's a bunch of highs and lows. There's not a consistent flow of revenue. So I always tell people if you want to do this entrepreneurial route, you have to put the money in your favor, which means if you have some other source of income, like a military retirement or a security fund, AKA Dave Ramsey, if you can live off of that and smooth out those highs and lows, it'll be in your favor. So that's me, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, we'll do the Q&A a little bit later. You did use up your 8 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and go on to the next presenter. Just a second here.
Thanks, Emma.
Okay,
Yes.
So hold on, let me introduce you. Sorry about that. I was trying to reset my timer.
Yeah.
So next is our community organization. Marc Thompson is also a retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel. He is representing Western Governors University today. All right, Marc, you're up.
All right, I'm starting my timer too.
Okay.
Okay. Hey everyone, like Emma said, Marc Thompson. In matter of fact, just retired from the Army on February 28th. So I'm almost as fresh as they get until April 1st. So anyway, again, I'm a military outreach manager for Western Governors University. I like to start my discussions with people basically explaining Western Governors University, or WGU, because what I find is that like me, when I first heard of it, I don't know anything about it. In fact, I'd often say WG who, because that's normally what I get. And oh, by the way, our mascot is an owl anyhow, so that works out. Yeah. Western Governors University was founded in 1997 by the Western Governors Association. So an association of the 19 westernmost governors of the United States. They saw the need for a non-traditional school for the non-traditional student. That being the working adult who wanted to go back to school but couldn't afford to go back and sit in a classroom for 4 months twice a year. for a number of hours a week. So they wanted to create something where you could do that from your home. And it just so happens we had this thing called the internet that was just starting to take off right about that time. And they saw this as a platform to be able to do this. So the beginning of it was pretty slow. They were incorporated in 1997, as I said, and they didn't graduate their first graduate until late 2000. And when that happened, it was like one, and it was I think a master's degree in IT of some sort. Over the years, we've grown exponentially, basically. So we are approved for all Veterans Association or Veterans Administration educational benefits. We're a yellow ribbon program, and as well as tuition assistance. And so if we look at today, we've got over 221,000 graduates. We currently have, as of today, 135,000 people enrolled right now. So by any count, that probably makes us the biggest university in the world. Again, so we're the biggest university you've never heard of, but we're trying to change that. So what does that mean to you? I said we're fully accredited through regional association. It's Northwest Commission on Colleges and Universities. When you're looking at universities, you want to make sure it's a regional accreditation. Those are the ones that hold the most value for accreditation of universities. Even if they say, hey, we're nationally accredited, that means nothing, because all legitimate universities are accredited through a regional association. We are also accredited in a number of organizations that service our primary programs. So we have about 65 programs. We focus on teaching, IT, business, and healthcare, because those are what we found. Those are the biggest university or biggest or most popular programs that working adults are looking to achieve. So what does this all mean for the veterans? It means a lot, actually, because for veterans, this is a great program, and transitioning service members, as well as military and their family members. First off, big difference between us and most universities is that we are competency-based. One of the things the governors wanted to do was create a program where your experience meant something. For instance, if you have got a lot of leadership experience and you're working on an MBA, there's a lot you know about leadership if you've been in the Army or military for a number of years. So you can take that knowledge that you have and experience and put it towards a class. And because we don't run on, it's completely online and self-paced, you're not sitting in class for an hour or 3 hours a week. You're doing this all on your own, online, 100%. And so you're advancing through courses as quickly as you can prove your competency in that subject and the skills. So that allows you, again, so competency-based, you're moving through it at your own speed. It's not unusual for some people to complete not only 15 credit hours, but more in a semester, because there's things that they know stuff about that they can move on. We are mentor guided. So unlike that horrible Army commercial a few years ago, you're not an army of one at WGU. You always have support from once your enrollment is processed and approved, you are assigned a mentor that you work with throughout the entirety of your program, who will help you guide through and answer questions, help you solve problems that you have, get support that you needed. They'll help you if you're having problems with the subject. They'll help hook you up with tutoring if you need it. Our instructors are always available to speak with you. Since the courses are online, you're not being taught to, but the instructors are there to help you if you need to. Once you finish the programs, your relationship doesn't stop. Once you graduate, you have lifetime access to our career and professional development section for resume advice, networking, that sort of thing. And powerful for all veterans is you have access right now, as a matter of fact, to an organization called Bridge My Return. And what they do is they help transition and service members with a resume builder, skills identification, skills translation, and also networking and coaching. So we're very affordable. Right now, our fees are run on 6-month terms, so not a regular semester. And the average for a bachelor's degree is about $3,200. Average for a master's program is about $4,200. A little bit more for different ones, depending on what sort of certifications comes with it. And an important point there is that all the certifications that you might need for a school are included in your tuition. So for IT, let's say you want to get a degree in cybersecurity, all those certifications come with that tuition. All the fees come with that tuition. So once you take that course, earn that certification, you can start using it right away. So I'll start to wrap this up. I'm about to run out of time. A lot more to talk about, and I'd love to talk if you're thinking about going back to school and you need an option where it's flexible, affordable, and portable, then contact me either at my email address or on LinkedIn. Thank you very much.
All right. Very good. 15 seconds left. You did that right on the nose almost. Good job. Okay, resetting my timer. And okay, let's see. Next, our third panelist is our military-friendly corporate. John Busa is a retired U.S. Army major who is a senior program analyst at Honeywell FM&T here in Kansas City. John, you're up.
Yeah, all right. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
All right, perfect. So I've got a script here that I'm going to go off of, and I'm going to try and keep it under 8 minutes. So good afternoon. I'm John Busa. I'm a husband since 2002, a father of 2 wonderful little girls. I spent 23 years in the Army as both an infantry officer and an Army strategist. So I got to deploy to Europe, Korea, Afghanistan, and all the fun places all over the world. I've got a bachelor's of science from the University of Wisconsin at Oshkosh, an MBA from Webster here in town, and I have got to do the 2-year program here at Fort Leavenworth and stuck around for the School of Advanced Military Studies. So I'm currently employed at Honeywell FM&T here in Kansas City as a senior project analyst. So a little background, FM&T is a development manufacturing company. We build 80% of the non-nuclear components for America's nuclear weapon stockpile. So we don't build the bomb here, but we build everything that goes into it. Our project analysts and mechanisms manage schedule and budget and I get some inputs to scope, but yeah, I try and push that over to the engineers, let them figure that part out. Manage a couple of external programs through our program management and internal business support teams, and manage a couple of other production schedules. And in my free time, I get to serve as the Veterans Committee Chair. So out at FM&T, we're committed to hiring veterans, and our mission culture is an ideal fit for U.S. military personnel. You may not know that Honeywell is a contractor for the Department of Energy's Kansas City National Security Campus. We're at the forefront of helping the DOE and the National Nuclear Security Administration strengthen our 21st century nuclear security enterprise. Our mission has also expanded to other government agencies with national security products that help protect the nation. So we've got 2 sides of the business. It's the weapons side, and then the other governmental organization support side. Our people represent a tradition of passion for precision that is unparalleled, and we take great pride in keeping our nation safe and secure. We recently moved from, about 6 years ago, we moved from the facility out on Bannister Road. It was about 3 million square feet out there. We thought that through updating the facility, making it more modern, and looking for efficiencies, we could do the mission a whole lot smaller. The plan was always to make the system more efficient. So we downsized it about a 1.3 million square foot facility out off of Bots Road, and it did really well in the initial years out there. you know, since then, the last 8 years has just been gangbusters. It's been gangbusters for business, and Honeywell has been taking on more and more scope, by the year. So we realized that the facility wasn't big enough for what we wanted. We went out and rented a building on Richards Gebauer to service our business, to service our program management office type work. Pretty soon that filled up, and it's like, oh shoot, what do we do next? So we rented a floor out in Overland Park. Again, that space filled up really quickly. Now so we rented another building, and we rented the former FEMA building, and that building is at probably about 60% occupancy, doing business support type operations. And finally, we realized that oh shoot, we've outgrown our plant. So we've sought out and rented another production and research type facility across the street from us at Botts Road. So the business is doing really well. We had a hiring surge a couple of years ago when I hired on. They were looking for. I joke that they were looking for people with a clearance and a master's degree, and we hired a boatload of vets in about the 2016-17 time frame. Right now, we've surpassed 5,000 employees this year at the Kansas City and out in New Mexico, and we're currently hiring. Unlike many businesses that are pausing, but due to the impact that are impacted by the pandemic, we're charging forward to fulfill our customers' requirements. So employment, why do we like veterans? And we value your background. As an employer, we've been working to hire more veterans in our organization. Currently, we've got more than 700 vets, about 13% of our workforce supporting the national security mission, both on the weapons side and the other side. Veterans are great for our workforce because they come with two things that are kind of, unfortunately, it's hard to find out in the general pop. Is they come with a clearance, which the TSA and TS clearance or Q clearance, it's expensive. If we can hire someone on and they don't have to go through that background investigation, we're saving in the tens of thousands of dollars. The other part is they come with a work ethic. We don't have to teach that. On our hourly side, that's. You hire a kid out of high school or out of a trade school, there's a learning and growing period before they're fully up to speed with the whole adulting thing. I joke about it like with when you've got new privates and new lieutenants. For the first year, they're still trying to figure out how to put on a uniform and show up to formation on time. So veterans tend to have an immediate connection with our business and understand the importance of what we're doing. We like to hire from the community with Whiteman Air Force Base being real close, and it feels like Leavenworth is where the Army sends all of our field grades to retire. We've had a lot of success recruiting from those two spaces. Many of the folks that we hire on are cross-trained with multiple skills and vast amount of experience and a variety of tasks and responsibilities. So the military gave me the leadership background to affect change within my workspace. I had the MBA because I was at Leavenworth for CJSC and thought, hey, I probably need to go get a master's degree. I'm never going to get a chance to use it again, or never get a chance to do it again. So essentially the company hired me for the MBA, but they got the leadership background as a bonus. So vets work really well in teams. And they're good at putting teams together to work to collaborate and bring folks into under a common window in a loosely matrixed organization. Trying to hit a couple of other points here. So at the we had a phrase when I hired on here. It's do work that makes a difference, and understanding that, for me, working in the engineering department, understanding that at the end of the day, the work that I was doing, yes, it was managing the spreadsheet, but it was going to support that that piece of the national security mission. How we recruit, we do recruiting events through military installations in the area, Fort Leavenworth, Riley, Whiteman, Richard Gebauer, and we've gotten a lot of traction out of hiring our heroes. So with that, Emma, I'm going to give you exactly 4 seconds back.
Awesome. Good job. I had you down for 10. So very good. Okay. Well, thank you to our panelists for their remarks. We are now entering into our Q&A period. So in our Q&A, the questions can be asked directly of our panelists if there's something specific about their business or what they offer and in what they said in their remarks that you want clarification or more information on. We have time for that. If it's something that can be answered in about 2 minutes. If it's something a little bit more complicated than that, we'll go ahead and have the person respond, but maybe follow up after the event. Now, if there are questions that are a little bit more general and something for the community, go ahead and ask it to see if there's an expert in the room that may be able to respond to that transition related question. But that is how we'll do the Q&A. And I'm going to go ahead and get started on the 15 minutes now. Anybody have a question?
Hey, Emma, how you doing? John here.
Hi, John.
Awesome, awesome. Hey, my question is for John. John, how you doing? John Jervis here. I
There's
too did.
2 Johns.
Oh, sorry, John Busa. Yeah, sorry. I too did so poorly at CGSC. I stayed at the remedial program for year 2. So, I had a question for you on Honeywell. I'm transitioning out of the military here in the next, October is my retirement date, and I'm, looking to participate in the Hiring Our Heroes program. I know Honeywell was in that program a couple years ago. Then they pulled out of it. Are you back in it?
I'm
sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot there.
Yeah, so I don't have a good answer for you. I know that Sean Guy is our executive sponsor. He's worked very closely with the KC Chamber of Commerce to bring that program into the plant. We support, I want to say, 5 or 6 cohorts with Hiring Our Heroes. It's a wonderful program. We got a lot of good dudes on. I've joked with our HR folks. If you see a dude that's coming through Hiring Our Heroes with Sam's in their name, just make them an offer, get them on the team. They're going to add value wherever they end up in the organization. Not sure if they're listening yet, but we've had some pretty good success. We got Mike Lawson out here and a couple other folks over the last couple of years. Now, with Hiring Our Heroes, it's not I'm going to throw out this caveat. It's not a guarantee at employment with whatever company you go to, whether it's Sprint or Cerner or Honeywell. I pitched it to leadership that, hey, look, this is a test drive. Both for the veteran and for us. For the veteran, it's for them to figure out, hey, is this company really a place that I want to work? Do we have a shared set of values? Can we move forward in this relationship? And at the same time, it's a test drive for the company, figuring out, okay, is this really someone that we want to hire and put on the staff? Have they made the mental transition from serviceman officer to the corporate land? And some of the folks just, unfortunately, they weren't ready to make that jump into corporate life. Like I said, we've had a lot of success with it. The folks that we brought on are top caliber dudes that that are truly contributing to the mission.
Great.
So I hope that helps.
Sure did. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, seriously, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to. I can talk about this for hours.
I'll take you up on that.
Not here.
the reaching out, not the.
Follow up with each other.
Thank you.
All right. Very good. Another question? I have one for Marc.
Go ahead.
Okay, so you talked a lot about the availability of the programs and what they are and how they are like. What about military talent that have instructor or teacher type experience? Are there opportunities for them to become part of the academia environment as an instructor, faculty, or staff?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we have a lot of positions like that open. They just have to go to our website and look for the link to career opportunities. But there are instructor positions, and those require advanced degrees. So that's one of the things. One of the pieces of value you get is you get instructors with advanced degrees. So no teaching assistants. When you talk to an instructor, you're talking to someone is an expert in their field. And we also have positions for the mentors. So mentors, if you have an interest in helping people, and you know a lot about IT, you have a degree in IT, and maybe you don't want to be an instructor, but you want to be able to help people through this process, you can be hired as a mentor. There are also positions as an evaluator. So the way that we work our tests is, or assessments, I should call them, not exactly tests, but they're assessments, is that once you take the course and you're ready to assess, the instructor is not proctoring your exam. That the test or the assessment or your presentation or something like that you have to do to complete the course goes to the assessor. So they're completely separated from that instructor. So it's kind of a little bit, it creates a little bit of separation to give you a good independent evaluation. So yeah, and there's many more positions available, but you can go and check those out.
Very good. Thank you.
Emma? Hi, George Sluke. Got a question for Marc. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. What I'm finding in veterans transitioning into the workforce is that there's a disaggregation of the total group into arguably enlisted and commissioned officer. And commissioned officer fits real well in a lot of top school programs. I'm an alum of Villanova University. And what we do is have a professional studies section that really fits the operating environment of a number of enlisted. Would WGA be able to do something like that? Does it do something like that? WGU, excuse me.
Yeah, I'm sure I don't understand. I don't really understand your question. What do you mean by professional studies? What
Yes.
do you mean by that?
In other words, yeah. Do you have a professional studies segment of your program?
So what would you describe as professional studies?
Well, engineers.
Okay. No.
Yeah.
So like I mentioned, we don't have programs like that. Now, professional studies can mean a lot of things. We do have healthcare. That's absolutely a profession, and that nursing degrees programs, teaching. All of our little known fact here, I just found that out today, so you're always learning, is that WGU is the biggest teachers college in the country. And we can certify teachers in all 50 states. The IT, very highly regarded IT program. And then, of course, the business with MBAs and management leadership master's degrees and many others in healthcare masters. So these programs, like I said, are typically the ones that working adults are looking for. Mid-level professionals who are looking to advance their degrees, or people who are looking to go back to school. So that's what we concentrate on. I think we don't do as many degrees as many other schools do, but we do them very, very well.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? We still have time in our Q&A period. I have one for John Nelson. Okay, so when you're talking about your business, you talked about having opportunities to work for the government as well as in corporate private projects or contracts. Which do you prefer and for what reasons?
That's kind of hard to say because I can tell you that there have been some government contracts that I've absolutely loved and those who I've absolutely hated. So, I mean, that's been a high and low. I've enjoyed working both on the civilian side with some clients and others not so much. So the one thing I will say is that working on the government side, you have to deal with a whole lot of red tape that you don't have to deal with on the other side. So as far as the contract administration side or that side of it, I much prefer working with the civilian side of things. On the other hand, generally, the government has far more interesting problems or important problems to solve. So I do like those for those reasons.
Okay, very good. I don't know why, John, are you wearing a tie? You're trying to show us all up. Any other questions?
No, I actually had a presentation just before this with our customer, and it went okay. We tried to put lipstick on a pig, and it's still a pig.
Oh, well, all right. Any general questions to the community, if not for one of our three panelists?
So I've got one for the community. How do we put some more legs under this? I saw we had 123 people signed up. We've got like 30 people that are out here. This is incredible. This is an incredible platform. Emma, you've done wonderful with this. How do we tie more folks in? I see we have folks from outside the community as well tied in here. And Bill, I see you from down in Oklahoma, from all the way down in Oklahoma. How do we garner some more? How do we garner some more attention for this important venue?
I think people maybe don't know to plug in. I mean, it's where people are supportive. Who in America doesn't support our military men and women, right? But how do you plug in? I think people don't know how to support other than, doing the typical thank you for your service. And I think that's part of how we as the active contributors to the community now can help bring them in, because everybody is expert or proficient in whatever it is that they are doing. If they have value and care for helping that person in transition, that's how they can help. You don't have to be anything other than who you already are. Be the expert and the professional that you already are, because part of the challenge of transition is that they don't sometimes know what the next thing is. There's so many opportunities available to them outside of the military that they've never even decided was as an option for them because of the MOS or branch that they were in, or the needs of the military, and the timing for the opportunities just wasn't right for their availability for it or whatnot. So I think that is something that we just have to encourage to those who have, accepted the invitation, but didn't register to attend.
Yeah, I think John Nelson just read my mind. He asked the question, are we working with the Soldier for Life program at Leavenworth? I would expand that out to white men in Fort Riley, in Fort Leonard Wood as well. Kansas, I didn't realize how much good stuff was here in Kansas City until I moved back. But those that feels like some it feels like some free chicken that all we have to do is get out there and garner a little bit of that relationship, build up a little bit of that relationship to press this up.
Right.
So unlike that, you can. This is outside of business hours, and you can do it after hours on your own time. Though I see you often are help with a hand with Tinker down
Oh,
in
good. That's not one
Oklahoma
I'm
as well.
familiar with. So to answer that question, as far as are we connected to some of these transition programs that are administered by DoD, I have a large network. Part of that has been built over my time being the AUSA chapter leader here in Kansas City. And AUSA is an international organization. So we have chapters all over the world. So that's part of it. It's not known as the Purple Connection, but I have access to a lot of different locations because of AUSA. Another thing that we're trying to build out is the American Warriors with the ACA Business Club. Now, the ACA Business Club is in the private sector. It is a business club. It's a private club. And we're working on establishing presence in other parts of the country as well as internationally, as far as, and there's a long range strategic vision of the club leadership. And so the interest group of the American Warriors, where I'm the executive director, that's part of what I'm trying to do, is where we might have metros that don't have a well-connected military support community. Not that they don't have one. They have service and support, it's whether or not it's very well connected. And do the service members know how to access it? That's what we're trying to build with the Purple Connection and, my role as the executive director of American Warriors. So that actually brings us to the end of the Q&A. All of us in this community can help with that. And it is a matter of communicating what it is that we're doing, the vision and mission that we have for this community. Everybody's got their reason for being here. But like an operation, there's something common that we all can agree on. We want to support those men and women in transition to help them with efficiency and success to the next thing. So, all right, we will get back to our program, which is going to be the next part of our agenda. This is going to be the transition tip. David, if you can bring back the slides. Okay, to teach us the transition tip today, we have Scott Weaver, retired U.S. Army Colonel. He is the current president of KCA USA, and he is also an adjunct business ethics professor at Park University.
And thank you, Emma, and welcome everybody, and welcome to the 100 or so folks that may be catching this on the recording too. And so Emma asked me to go ahead and talk about a transition tip. And so we decided to lead off with the business ethics piece. So if you look at the words that you see here: responsibility, trust, principle, behavior, relationship, choice, reliability, morality. And I'm not here to give you a business ethics class in 7 minutes, but behind this, my transition tip to you would be this: have a purpose, find your purpose. If you're in the military, you've had a purpose and you're serving. Now, in leaving the military, you need to go ahead and rediscover your purpose. And that is going to be tied to your values. And your purpose is the thing that gets you up and out of bed, because you may go from job to job, but if you know what your purpose is, and it can be as simple as putting a roof over my head and food on the table, and that's a great place to start. But beyond that, if you're able to go ahead and move to a place where you're able to answer to that higher purpose, the thing that motivated you to become a service member, that's really what I'm talking about. And out of that then comes your reputation. Now, we talk sometimes about reputation today as your brand, But we really aren't talking about your reputation. And John Nelson and John Busa have both talked to that. It's a combination of your skills, and even more importantly than your skills, it has to do with your character. And your character is your values and action. And so good companies, and John, I've actually talked with your colleague Jason Sharp about this, and that this is one of the things that Honeywell does. They hire for character. Good companies hire for character, and they know that they can build skills. But if they hire for skills, they can't build character. That's one of the things that the military aims at achieving, even though on the recruiting side, we're looking for that character foundation to go ahead and build and improve upon. And so in the interview process, through your networking, in the moment that you get in front of the human resources person who's there and conducting an interview, one of the forms of questions that they always ask are those situational interview questions. Tell me about a time when you had a conflict with a coworker. Tell me about a time when you had a conflict being asked to do something that was against your morality or against your own set of ethics, or that seemed to be in conflict with the stated values of the company for which you were working, or the organization that you were working for. Conflicts are, those types of dilemmas are always going to come up. And dilemmas are, there's two right things and one may be more right than the other, and you're conflicted about which one to go with. But those types of situational interview questions are put forth in order to elicit, to find out something about your character and about who you are and how you are and what you do. And one of the areas that really can, and this is the heart of the transition tip today, you've got to adjust your vocabulary and the way that you express yourself. If you're in the military, a large part of the business is about doing violence or supporting the doing of violence. That's not all of it, but it puts us into a mindset, and we can be pretty harsh and pretty unvarnished in the language that we use to go ahead and talk about those things. And it is shocking and unnerving if you don't modulate the terminology that you use, the way that you express yourself, and be much more diplomatic. You can be forthright and straightforward, but you don't have to be crass, and you don't have to be crude. And that in and of itself is also revealing of your character. And so out of that, as the business is making a decision, as the company is making a decision, as the organization is making a decision about whether you are going to be a good fit for the organization, do you have the character that we want? Are your values aligned with the values of our organization? There's another important part to that whole interview process, and the question that you have to answer, and if you don't get the right answer and you don't get a good feeling, I would walk away from that organization, is, does that organization, does it live its stated values? What is the character of the organization? Because the money is not going to be sufficient for you to be happy doing what you're doing if there's a misalignment in the character and the values of the organization and the ones that you uphold. And I'd like to go ahead, David. I'd like to go ahead and share if I had to offer up from kind of the business ethics perspective, the code that I would recommend to anybody to walk away with and apply in their business, in their professional life, is actually the Rotary four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? And if you go ahead and you make that your behaviors, if you tie back to your values and you make these your behaviors, you will build your reputation and you will build your brand. And through the networking that you do and what others learn about you, especially in this small town and big city close, Kansas City, you will move much further along and be much more successful in your career. And that's what I've got to say about that.
Great.
you, Emma.
That was awesome as far as your transition tip. Thank you so much, Scott. You had like a minute and a half left. So I guess I'm starting to build a reputation as far as my stringent adherence to the timer. But it is something that, you know, we want to be as mindful of people's schedules as we say that this is going to take. So we're going to go ahead and move on. Thank you to all the program participants in informing and educating us today. So if you're interested in continuing to participate more intentionally in facilitated conversations like those that we've kind of introduced today, I invite you to consider becoming an American Warrior of the ACA Business Club. Actually, here in Kansas City, we have 3 clubs. We have one in the Northland, one in Lee Summit, and one in Overland Park. Each of the clubs has a weekly coffee. If you would like to attend as a guest, the Northland Club has theirs on Thursdays. Fridays is the Overland Park Club, and the Lee Summit Club has theirs on Tuesdays. All the coffees start at 9. So in other places that we have clubs, we have one in Columbia, Missouri, another one in Chesterfield, Missouri. So folks who might be in the suburbs of St. Louis, there's an opportunity for you to check out the club there. And then we have also a club in the suburbs of Chicago. So we have presence in a lot of places. Being a member of the club affords you access to any of the club facilities, access to any of the interest groups where American Warriors is only about one. You can join a business development team. You have access to the club directory, so you can see who people are at these various locations. And there's also learning opportunities every week, live and virtual, and also leadership opportunities for teams, groups, or clubs. Each of these clubs are ones that we're trying to establish a on-the-ground American Warriors club leader. So Bo Hendricks is actually our club leader for American Warriors right now in Oklahoma City. There is not yet a club facility there, but hopefully there will be one soon. And Phil White is our American Warrior in the St. Louis Club. So the Purple Connection Strengths Profile workshops are things that occur every month. These are events that are sponsored, organized, and facilitated by Tubes Consulting. American Warriors are encouraged to attend and invite guests to participate in these things as often as they can. The monthly American Warriors discussions group is actually next week. It's the 4th week of the month, 2 to 3 p.m. Central. And the leader meetings for the executive committee and the club meetings are as announced. Next slide. Okay, so future events, here just a little bit more information about some of those things. The discussion for next week's group is going to be focused on education and credentials. So members of the community, as well as those in transition, you're invited to be my guest to attend the discussion group. And then the first week of April is the Intro to Strengths Profile workshop. And in a month from now will be the next Purple Connection. Next slide. Here is the lineup for the April program. Our veteran entrepreneur is going to be Mike Szymanski, an Army retiree, CEO of Parade Rest. Our military support nonprofit will be Bill Eckert, who is one of the founders of Camo Adventures. Our military-friendly corporate, we've got Monty Comer, who is an Army retiree and is one of the recruiters for Olin Winchester, which is the company that has the contract for the Lake City ammo plant. And then our transition tip will be provided by Philip White, Army veteran, who is an outdoor recreation and community engagement enthusiast. Next slide. Feel free to contact me for more information. Connect with me on LinkedIn. This is my contact info in all various forms. In a few weeks, some of you are going to receive an invitation for TPC referrals. This is an invite-only opportunity to intentionally connect with me and 3 other members of the community. There'll be various appointments that you can sign up for. Those who are eligible for an invitation are those who are actively engaged in the Purple Connection, showing up to events, or contributing within this military support community space. You're actively networking, you're growing your business, you're an American warrior or transitioning warrior, and you have a server leader mindset. Please join the LinkedIn Purple Connection group, and you can post questions and support information and whatnot. Continue the community engagement and the conversations between the monthly Purple Connection events. Next slide. Last slide. Thank you, everyone. That concludes our program for this month. Everyone, have a good evening. Follow up with each other, and hopefully we'll see you next month. Thank you so much.